If you've ever wondered why it's so easy to get into credit card debt and yet so hard to get out, it's not by accident. The system is designed with built-in traps that millions of Americans fall into every year. Bill Mitchell from Legal Edge Debt Solutions calls them the traps. So Bill, welcome. What is the first trap and how do people find themselves just all of a sudden caught up in this trap and in debt?
Well, the first trap is our consumer culture. It's turned into a spending culture where we're buying not just necessities, but items that make us feel good, define who we are. And there's no escaping that for you or I. But now you combine that spending culture with the ease and use of credit cards. So they've now convinced us to both spend more than we have and then made it easy for us to do it.
But it wasn't always this way. When did this spending culture really kick into high gear? Back in the day, it was kind of hard to get the kind of credit you can get now, right?
Absolutely. This is going to be a little surprising to you, but really it was the invention of electricity. Yeah, I mean, look around your house, look at all the items that require electricity. It's more than a few. And so when electricity came along, people had the ability to buy things they couldn't otherwise even purchase. Refrigerator, radio, vacuum cleaners. These items all were more expensive. And then after World War II, you had televisions, washers, dryers. So they had to pay for these items. And then you had the invention of the installment sales contract.
And so the installment, take us through that. It's just a typical loan, right? You make payments every month and it's pretty predictable.
Yeah, and often these installment sales were through the very people who manufactured or sold the item, refrigerator, television, washer, dryer. It was a fixed amount, fixed term, fixed monthly payment, and fixed interest rate. So when you were done paying with it, you were done with the debt.
So when did credit cards enter the picture and how they changed the game?
They changed the game materially, and this is in the 1960s with the introduction of Visa and MasterCard. However, the game really didn't accelerate until the 1980s and 1990s. That's when the banks were able to charge higher interest. When the banks found that they could charge higher interest, meaning make more money, they lowered the underwriting. They made credit more widely available. To give you an example of how much credit card usage increased in a short period of time, in 1968, total credit card debt was $2 billion. It's now $1.3 trillion.
Wow. So take us through, for people who don't know, the fundamental difference between that old-fashioned installment loan and carrying that same amount on a credit card. What's the difference?
Again, installment loan, fixed payment, fixed term. Credit cards are revolving credit. That means when you get your statement, you can either pay the entire balance or a small portion of it. The other thing that credit card companies did that was brilliant was that you could put multiple purchases from multiple retailers on one card. Now, we all assume that that's how it always was, but it wasn't always that way. So it allowed you to make multiple purchases and yet pay a lower balance.
So you can see why it's so popular with banks, and also the attraction to consumers is the convenience, but also the ability to rack up multiple charges.
Absolutely. The banks, it's a trade-off. Banks make more money, consumers have more convenience.
But it's also a setup for people, isn't it, this trap?
That's why it is a trap, because they've allowed you to run up more debt and pay less on that principal balance so that the banks could make more interest over time.
And what's the hidden costs of what they're paying?
Well, it's not hidden because it's on your credit card
That's
statement.
True, but maybe not so obvious.
It's the interest. They're baiting you into paying a smaller amount against the principal balance and to have that principal balance keep growing. And that causes you to pay more interest. That's the trap.
So bottom line it for us, what can people do now to avoid this first trap?
Simply understand that that's the game that's being played, and to find where your comfort level is. In other words, when you get your monthly statement, figure out where's my comfort level to pay that balance and have that balance roll over. What you don't want to do is have that balance go higher and higher in each month, because if that balance goes higher and higher, you're digging your hole deeper and deeper. You want to have a balance you can maintain and control and leave room for if there's an unexpected life event. Because unfortunately, the one thing that's certain is an unexpected life event.